She sold my childhood home while I was in surgery. It was holding me back, she texted. Like you, I recovered in silence. 6 months later, she was living in a shelter, holding a sign outside my office. Please forgive me. They didn't even let me wake up first. I was still in post-op, my mouth full of gauze and a needle in my arm when the nurse walked in with my phone. You've got a lot of messages, she said carefully. She handed it over like it might explode. The first text lit up the screen before I could even unlock it. Don't freak out. I sold the house. No, how are you feeling? No, surgery go okay? Just that. 12 hours earlier, I was on an operating table, having 2 ribs removed so they could graft bone into my spine. A last-ditch effort to fix the curve that had been crushing my lungs since I was a kid. They said recovery would be long, painful. Life-altering was the word the surgeon used. But that text? That changed more than the surgery ever could. Second message. It was unnecessary. I had to let go. Third. You'll understand someday. When you're not high on morphine. The house she sold? The one my dad built before he left. The one with the carved initials under the stairs. The attic window where I watched thunderstorms. The floorboard in the hallway that squeaked like a mouse when you stepped on it just right. Gone. Sold while I was unconscious. And the seller? My mother. The day I turned 18, I gave her power of attorney. It was supposed to be temporary. Just long enough to sign off on medical stuff while I was out cold. She promised it would only be used if necessary, paperwork, prescriptions, that kind of thing. Instead, she used it to liquidate the only place I'd ever felt safe. Didn't even wait a week. 2 days post-surgery, they wheeled me out of the hospital with a walker and a list of what not to do. No stairs. No lifting. No stress. The Uber dropped me off at the curb of a strip motel. Room 12B. Smelled like old towels and bleach. The hospital bag barely fit through the door. Called her. Voicemail. I texted. Where am I supposed to go? The reply came an hour later. You're a grown man now. Figure it out. Welcome to the real world. No apology. No explanation. Just that. I spent the next 2 months swallowing pills on a mattress that sank in the middle. A folding chair held my clothes. The ceiling leaked when it rained. Even a sneeze sent a jolt through me. Friends offered couches. A few tried to visit. I told them I was fine. I wasn't. But I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of knowing that. 6 months later, I was walking to work. Downtown, early morning. The air still smelled like last night's rain and bus fumes. And then I saw her, sitting cross-legged on the sidewalk. Hair tangled. Jacket 2 sizes too big. Cardboard sign in her lap. Please forgive me. I stopped mid-step. People flowed around me like water around a rock. She looked up. Saw me. Didn't flinch. Didn't cry. Just stared, like she'd been waiting. I didn't speak. Just watched her from 20 feet away. My heart didn't race. My hands didn't shake. If anything, it felt like watching someone else's life from behind glass. She mouthed something. Couldn't hear it. Didn't care. My office building was behind her. I walked around the block twice before going in through the side entrance. That day, I didn't get much work done. Couldn't focus. Couldn't stop seeing her there. Like a ghost of my own past, begging a future she never expected to exist. She texted me that night. No greeting. Just, it was your dad's house, not mine. I never wanted it. I was drowning. You left me alone with all his ghosts. I didn't reply. Want to know what drowning looks like? It's a mother signing a sale contract while her son is under anesthesia. It's a text that compares you to something useless. It's a cardboard sign 6 months later, pretending guilt counts as currency. She stayed outside my office for 2 days. On the third, security made her move. I watched from the 4th floor window. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. Just picked up her sign, folded it in half, and walked away like someone clocking out of a shift. I haven't spoken to her since. She sent letters, wrote emails, even found a way to send flowers to my desk. All of them said the same thing in different fonts. I didn't know what else to do. Please understand. Forgive me. She still doesn't get it. This isn't about a house. It's about the fact that she waited until I was most vulnerable to strike. Like a predator. And now, she wants a second chance. But here's the thing. Some betrayals don't get second acts. They just echo. Edit 1. For those asking, yes, I have receipts. The power of attorney, the texts, the closing documents with her signature. It's not fiction. It's just the kind of truth most people would rather believe is fake. Edit 2. She's in a shelter now. Confirmed through a friend who works in social services. Apparently she tells people her son abandoned her after surgery. That's one version of the story. Not mine. Edit 3. I didn't take her in. I didn't send money. I just went home to my one-bedroom rental, made dinner, and sat in the silence she left behind. It's peaceful. Finally. Update 1. I didn't hear from her again until my birthday. She didn't call. Didn't show up. Instead, I got a voicemail. Not from her. From a number I didn't recognize, a local funeral home. Hi, this is Meredith from St. James Memorial. Your mother listed you as next of kin for pre-need arrangements and requested we inform you of her situation. She's asked that you return her call at your earliest convenience. That's how I found out she was dying. Or said she was. Stage 3 lymphoma, she claimed. Inoperable. No insurance. Living in the church-run shelter near 8th and Monroe. Her voice in the message was low, calm. Like she'd been rehearsing grief before pressing record. I didn't call back. That night, I sat on my couch and stared at the floor for 2 hours. I tried to feel something. Tried to summon that old ache, the one that used to show up when I thought about our last real conversation, the one that ended with me bleeding internally and her signing a deed. Nothing came. Just this hollow kind of stillness, like the part of me that could be hurt by her was gone. Burned out. 2 weeks passed. Then came the package. No return address. Brown envelope, handwritten. Inside? Photos. Dozens of them. Me from age 5 to 17. School photos, soccer games, birthday candles half blown out. Some were ones I'd never seen. Ones I assumed had been tossed or forgotten. All of them were annotated in red ink. You were never unwanted. This was your favorite sweater. We used to laugh so much. Remember? Under one picture, me on the porch, barefoot, reading, she'd scrawled. I watched you from the kitchen. You looked so peaceful. I thought maybe I hadn't failed completely. That one stuck. 4 hours. Like a thorn in my lung. Because I did remember that afternoon. Dad was gone. Rain was coming. She'd yelled at me earlier for breaking the coffee pot. I sat out there hoping she wouldn't notice me, wouldn't pull me back inside to clean or cook or apologize. That wasn't peace. That was escape. The next day, I drove by the shelter. Didn't go in. Just sat across the street in my car. Watched people go in and out. Volunteers. Caseworkers. A woman holding a toddler in a blanket. Then I saw her. My mother. Dragging a trash bag full of clothes behind her. Talking to no one. That same coat. That same ponytail. But slower now. Smaller. I waited until she was out of sight. Then I got out and went inside. Told the front desk I was just donating a coat. Left it in the bin by the stairs. It wasn't hers. Just something I had. Still smelled like dry cleaning sheets. As I left, I saw a bulletin board near the exit. Flyer pin dead center. Support group for estranged families, Tuesdays at 6 p.m. You are not alone. The picture? A mother holding a boy's hand at a beach. Whoever designed it probably meant well. But I almost tore it off the wall. A week later, I woke up to a new voicemail. No funeral home this time. Just her. Her voice was different now. Not rehearsed. Not calm. Just cracked. I know you saw me. Across the street. You always had that habit, watching from windows. Like your father. Pause. I didn't lie about the cancer. Longer pause. I lied about why I sold the house. Silence. Then. I was in debt. Not just bills. I owed people. Bad ones. I thought if I sold it fast, paid them off, we could start over. But you were in surgery and I panicked. I needed it gone. She didn't say sorry. She just ended with, I'm still your mother. Even if you hate me, that part doesn't change. Click. The part she left out? The man she owed money to? I found him. Because that's what happens when you spend enough time in the world she crawled into. You start recognizing names. Patterns. I called Ronnie. The guy who picked me up off the pavement when I had nowhere else to land. He asked for the name. Took him 2 hours. Texted me an address. Said only. Don't go alone. I didn't. I brought Zoe. She didn't say anything when I asked. Just packed a stun gun and a voice recorder. The place was a rundown duplex, boards on the windows, Christmas lights still up in June. He answered the door like he was expecting cops. Told me she owed him $3,000. Said she took it to start over, promised repayment in 30 days. That was 6 months ago. He laughed when I mentioned the house. You're her kid? He asked. She said you were out of the picture. Then he paused. No, wait, dying. Said you were dying. He shook his head. She's good at getting sympathy. Almost got me too. That night I didn't sleep. Just sat at the kitchen table, all the lights off, staring at a photo she'd sent. Me, age 10, holding a fishing pole. I hated fishing. I only went because she promised I could skip school the next day. She never kept that promise. I went in with bruised hands from untangling the line all afternoon. I told the teacher I fell. She didn't correct it. Final message that week. No greeting. Just, I'm being evicted from the shelter. I don't have anywhere else to go. Please. I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed. You had a home. You sold it. Didn't hit send. Instead, I opened the note app. Started writing. Because some damage? It doesn't rot you. It reconfigures you. And this? This was the moment I stopped being the one holding the wound and started being the one holding the pen. Update 2. I thought she was bluffing about the eviction. I really did. Until I stepped out for lunch one Tuesday, turned the corner toward my office building, and there she was. Not sitting, not hiding, standing. Center of the plaza like she belonged there. Holding the same cardboard sign, same black Sharpie. Please forgive me. But this time, there was a second sign, leaning against her feet. My son works here. He thinks I'm trash. She wasn't asking for help anymore. She was staging a performance. I stopped cold. The security guard outside gave me a look, raised eyebrows, half a smirk. He thought this was drama. Thought maybe I was just a cold-hearted suit abandoning my poor, desperate mother. He didn't know she'd sold my bones while they were still healing. I walked past her without flinching. She didn't even look at me. Just kept holding the sign, eyes darting to passers-by like she was checking for applause. My phone buzzed 20 minutes later. Unknown number. Did you see my message? Blocked. Zoe didn't even ask if I was okay. She just said, we'll handle this legally. Within 24 hours, she had a cease and desist drafted and hand-delivered to the shelter's director. Turns out they didn't know. She told them she was a domestic violence survivor. Claimed she had nowhere else to go because her son stole her house. She even showed them fake texts. Zoe got copies. They were bad. Poorly photoshopped screenshots of messages that made me look like I kicked her out for being an emotional burden. Even one where I called her a parasite. We laughed at first. Then we realized it wasn't funny. Because she wasn't trying to come back into my life anymore. She was trying to rewrite it. Next day, she came inside. Not past security, but close. Waited in the lobby until someone went to the bathroom and the door clicked open. Slipped in like smoke. One of the interns found her standing by the elevator holding a folder. Said she wanted to drop off documents for her son. Security escorted her out. The folder? Inside were clippings. Printouts of our company website. My bio. My old essays from college. A list of our board members. Zoe read it and said, this isn't a cry for help. This is recon. I filed for a formal restraining order the next morning. Zoe's boss, our in-house counsel, took over from there. It wasn't about punishment. It was about a line. One she wasn't allowed to cross anymore. She didn't show up to the hearing. Didn't send a lawyer. Just mailed a handwritten letter to the court. For pages of grief porn. Talked about my father's death. Her sacrifice. How her trauma made her act desperately. How I was raised to be too independent and now I was punishing her for it. The judge read it out loud. Then granted the order for 5 years. When we walked out of the courtroom, I felt lighter than I had in months. Then Zoe handed me another envelope. Her surprise. She'd been digging. Found something I'd never bothered to look for. Back taxes. From the sale of the house. Filed under my name. Because the sale happened under my power of attorney and she never reported it properly, the IRS flagged me. She didn't just walk away. She left lasting scars. And then walked away like it was nothing. We spent the next 3 weeks cleaning it up. Letters. Phone calls. Proof I hadn't been conscious, let alone complicit. Eventually, they removed the charges. But they left behind a message. You should revoke all residual authority associated with the POA immediately. Zoe filed the paperwork that afternoon. Told me something else too. She's squatting. Shelter let her go. She's bouncing between abandoned buildings. And then she paused. You want to do something about it? I didn't answer right away. Because it wasn't just about payback anymore. It was about excavation. Digging out the root. She had a storage unit. That's where she kept the photos. We found it through a bank transaction Zoe pulled legal since the POA still gave me limited access to emergency accounts tied to my identity. I expected junk. Old clothes. Maybe some heirlooms. What I didn't expect. A trunk full of journals. Dozens of them. All written by her. The earliest one was from the year Dad left. Inside were entries that shook me. Some were manic. Some bitter. Others were full of love. But misdirected. Like she was writing to a son who never existed. One passage burned itself into my memory. Michael isn't the boy I raised. He's the boy my fears created. I think I broke him. Another. I sold the house because every room hurt. Every wall had his voice. I thought if I tore it down, maybe I could breathe again. And then, I hope one day he understands. Even if he never forgives me. I just wanted it to stop hurting. I didn't cry. I didn't get angry. I just closed the journal and locked the trunk. Then I left it in the unit. Untouched. Just like she left me. I haven't seen her since that day in the plaza. She's still alive. Confirmed through a social worker Zoe knows. Apparently she's on a list for permanent supportive housing. Says life was once better. Tells others her son is a lawyer. Claims she was left behind. In a way it did. But she failed first. She failed quietly, deliberately, and with a pen in her hand while I was under anesthesia. And now I don't want an apology. I want distance. And I have it. Update 3. 3 months after the restraining order, I got another package. No return address. Just my name, neatly written in that same cursive I'd once seen on my birthday cards. Inside, a single item. A key. No note. No explanation. Just a scratched brass key on a bent paperclip. At first, I thought it was junk. But something about it felt deliberate. Zoe said, "Don't." Ronnie said, "She's baiting you." Even Morris, who hadn't spoken to her in 2 years, texted, "Whatever it opens, burn it shut." But I couldn't ignore it. Not because I missed her. Not because I wanted closure. Because I needed to know. It didn't take long to figure out. Storage facility on the east side. One of those half-condemned ones with peeling paint and cracked cameras that always seem a little too quiet. I walked in and showed the clerk the key. He didn't even blink. Unit 43. Last row. Left corner. I didn't ask how he knew. I just went. The door creaked like a horror movie set. Inside, nothing. Almost nothing. Just a single folding chair. And on it, a box. Black. Velvet-lined. Shoe-sized. I opened it. Inside were 3 things. A VHS tape. A Polaroid photo me, age 5. Sleeping in a hospital bed. A letter. Handwritten. 7 pages. I read the letter once. Then again. Then I sat down on the floor, right there on the cold cement, and read it a 3rd time just to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. Because the truth was worse than anything I'd made up. My spinal condition wasn't genetic. It stemmed from old injuries left untreated. It wasn't bad genetics. It wasn't random. It was from trauma. Old untreated injuries from my past. The kind you don't get from falling off a bike. The kind you get when someone drops you, over and over, and lies about it. In the letter, she wrote, "I used to leave you on the counter while I cleaned, just for a second. I told myself it didn't count. Once you rolled off, hit your head. You cried, but stopped fast. So I figured it was okay. Then it happened again, and again, and again." She detailed every incident, every fall, every ER visit she'd avoided, every bruise she explained away. And finally, by the time you were 4, the damage was done. The doctors just thought it was genetic. They never looked closer. Why would they? You smiled so much. I didn't watch the tape. Not at first. I drove home in silence, put the box in a drawer, sat in the dark with Zoe, staring at nothing for hours. Didn't speak, didn't eat, just stared. Because somewhere deep in my body, I'd always known. The pain I carried wasn't just bad luck. It was seeded, nurtured, inherited. She didn't just abandon me. She broke me. Then she let go of the truth just to stay quiet. The next morning I watched the tape. Black and white footage. Grainy. No sound. Camera was perched on a counter. The date in the corner read August 2002. She's holding me. I'm small. Crying. She sets me down. Walks away. I crawl toward the edge of the frame. I fall. She doesn't turn around. Not for 30 seconds. Not until I'm out of the frame. Then she walks back, slowly, like she's annoyed. That's it. Less than 2 minutes. But it was enough. I didn't show Zoe. Didn't show Morris. Didn't send it to anyone. Instead, I made a copy. Locked the original away. Then I called a lawyer. Filed a deposition. Sealed it with instructions. If she ever tries to contact me again, or seek guardianship of anyone, this gets released. It's not about revenge anymore. It's about protection. For anyone who might come after me. 2 weeks later, I got one final envelope. No handwriting. Just a typed note. 3 sentences. "I know what you saw. I wanted you to know. Because now maybe you'll understand why I left you alone. Because I was never safe to be near." No signature. No apology. No return address. That's the last I heard from her. That was a year ago. People ask me now, do I regret not helping her? Not taking her in? Not forgiving? Here's what I say. Forgiveness is not a blanket. It's a scalpel. And some things? You don't mend. You amputate. Because sometimes the only way to survive your history is to bury it so deep even memory needs a map. Last week, I drove by the old neighborhood. The house she sold. It's still standing. Fresh paint. New windows. Kids in the yard. Different ghosts now. Better ones, I hope. I parked down the street. Watched for a while. Then I drove away. Not because it hurt, but because it didn't. Because she's not in that house. And I'm not in that boy anymore. Update 4. I got the death notice last week. Single-line email from a county coroner in Nevada. Unidentified woman matched to your DNA. Confirmed via familial match. No next of kin response from other listed parties. Body unclaimed. Attached was a photo of a toe tag. Jane Doe number 4817. Deceased in a parking lot behind a laundromat. An old bottle in her coat pocket. Shelter wristband still on. I stared at it for an hour. Didn't cry. Didn't flinch. Just stared. Because after everything, after the house, the surgery, the lie about cancer, the tape, the journals, she still managed one last trick. She left this world the same way she raised me. In solitude. And unfinished. They asked if I wanted to claim the body. Standard procedure. Legal obligation. $275 cremation fee if not. I didn't respond for 3 days. Then I wired the money anonymously. No urn. No burial. No ceremony. Just ashes in a state vault. When the clerk asked for the inscription, if any, I said, leave it blank. Because what do you engrave on the life of someone who erased you? Zoe asked if I needed space. Ronnie offered to take me fishing. Morris sent a voice note, if you need to scream, I'll hold the phone. I didn't scream. Didn't drink. Didn't run. I cleaned my apartment. Threw out the last of the photos. Sold the storage unit key to a pawn shop for $5. Donated the journals to a trauma researcher Zoe knows. Anonymized. Sealed. Sometimes silence is louder than history. 3 days later, I went back to work. Reviewed contracts. Checked spreadsheets. Ate lunch alone on the roof. The skyline didn't look different. The air didn't feel lighter. No epiphany. No release. Just stillness. Like the world finally stopped expecting me to flinch. I get asked sometimes by well-meaning therapists, coworkers, strangers on Reddit. Did she love you? Here's the truth. Yes. But love isn't always a light. Sometimes it's a cage. Sometimes it leaves marks. And sometimes it waits until you're most vulnerable and makes choices you can't undo. There's one photo I kept. Not in a frame. Just tucked in my desk drawer. Me, age 7. Missing teeth. Holding a garden hose. Laughing at something no one remembers. She took that picture. And for a second, just a second, I think maybe she saw me the way I wanted to be seen. Then I remember the bruises that summer. And the dentist bills. And the lies. And I put the photo away. Not out of anger. But because even memory deserves boundaries. So here it is. The last thing I'll say. You don't always get justice. You don't always get revenge. Sometimes all you get is distance. And sometimes, that's enough.